busy morning, and I'm honored right now to introduce to you a pretty rad dude. And as you can tell today's pretty casual. I wore my comfortable jeans and my comfortable boat shoes because today's about data and about real people, not about impressing. I don't like suits, so we're not going to dress like that. Today I'd like to introduce to you a really cool guy. His name is Rob Meadows. Now Rob, without getting into his bio and being all formal, Rob has a pretty cool startup background. He builds and breaks things very well, and he's very humble and pretty chill. And when I first met him, I didn't even know the complexity of how good he is in the digital space. So I'm going to give you just a quick bio from what I know, and then we're going to dive into his background. Rob started his career at IBM, then went to Qualcomm, and he was a programmer. Very, very smart. Some really cool side backstories about him, and you can look at his LinkedIn. After he left Qualcomm, he started his own company and ended up selling it and had an exit. Then he started a company called Originate, which is where he's at now. And Originate is quite interesting because they build things, and when they first started, they would just take equity in companies. And now they're so popular that people will pay them to build things and take equity. It's a VC firm and a dev shop all rolled into one. It's pretty fascinating. If you go to his website, which is originate.com, he has dozens of incredible startups that go to them for CTO help, as well as just building their business from start. So let's give a round of applause here for Rob Meadows.
Does it work? All right, good.
Good to have you here.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, where'd you wake up this morning?
Woke up in San Francisco and fall asleep in Vegas, so there we go.
This is very nice of you to come out and visit with us today. So I have a few notes, but I kind of want to just dive in and make this really interesting. So first of all, you grew up in a city, and you grew up very quickly in that city because at a very young age, you learned some very adult-like stuff. Walk us through where you grew up and how you got your fix of something interesting.
Yeah, so I'm one of the few people that actually grew up in Vegas, and my family's still there. And growing up in Vegas, it's actually a very entrepreneurial city. You know, it's all about money and survival and winning and losing. And you know, back when I grew up there isn't that much to do if you're not 21, other than figure out how to get a fake ID as quickly as you can to have things to do in Vegas. So you know, I think by the time I was 13, I probably had a serious gambling addiction, and probably by 14 was really good at counting cards and had a pretty successful career there. But you know, it's all about finding new ways to create value and growth. So started writing software at the age of 12, 13, and selling software. And I wrote a Keno game. If you guys know what Keno is, pick numbers on the screen, and it picks numbers kind of bingo style. And ended up selling that to a bunch of gambling addicts that didn't have money to gamble in the casino, wanted to gamble on the computer. So anyway, ended up selling software and building a little bit of a business, trying to survive in Vegas growing up.
Well, let's talk about one of the products you built that I used before I ever met you. It's called Refollow. Mm-hmm. Now, how many of us have ever heard of Refollow.com? You haven't? Okay, this is cool. So walk us through what this product does, and he's going to be humble and say we built it, but really it's him in his living room. Even though he has a whole team, he's still one of the best programmers that he has on staff. So what is Refollow?
Don't tell my programmers that.
Sorry.
So Refollow, when Twitter first came out, a few of us kind of quickly discovered it was very easy to get followers. If you find people that should follow you and follow them, wait a period of time, they would follow you back. So, within the first few weeks of Twitter, there's a few of us that were gaining the most amount of followers. I think they got to 5,000 followers before they had like 20,000 users on Twitter by doing this technique. So, I built this program initially to just kind of automatically, anytime somebody new signed up for Twitter, just go follow them and wait a period of time and follow them back. But, ultimately, I brought in some other developers and we built Refollow into, hundreds of thousands of users, and it's evolved into a tool more for, discovering the right people to follow that, we say should be following you and helping make them aware of you. We've had our several years here of going back and forth with Twitter in terms of their policies.
Now, what happened with Twitter? They tried to shut it down, right?
Yeah, I've had some big battles. You know, we're right down the street from Twitter in San Francisco, so I fight most of my battles by walking over there and doing it in person. But you know, they've shut us down 3 or 4 times for, you know, violating, you know, pretty gray terms of what is bulk following, and are we enabling people to violate their terms. And you know, now their latest one, they shut us down for 2 weeks, was for, you know, every single follow has to be accompanied by a click. So we're getting ready to relaunch a version 3 that I think has a pretty cool way around it.
Can we talk about the way around it? Now, let me walk you through what this tool is. Everybody in here is on social of some sort. Raise your hand if you're on Twitter. Probably most of the room, right? So if you're on Twitter, you can follow people. This tool lets you find people within their bio. It says Santa Monica or Microsoft. And you can click the whole page and go, I want to follow all these people. And Twitter has API constraints that says you can't follow. Once you hit the 2,000 follow limit, then you have to have 2,000 followers until you can hit that bridge or whatever. But you're helping people to click that whole thing. Walk us through, instead of clicking the whole page and saying follow all these people in the next 3 minutes, how are you getting around that?
Yeah, so we feel like people shouldn't be spending their time clicking. So what we've done is we've taken advantage of, you know, the mechanical Turk ecosystem, which are, you know, people willing to do repetitive tasks for a price. And we basically are launching an agency where you'll just queue up a lot of people you would like to follow, and we'll have our elite team of clickers click the follow button for you and the unfollow button for you. So we're excited about that, and it's been fun trying to get around some of these rules without actually violating them.
That's awesome. So version 3 comes out soon. I'm actually beta testing it, and it's pretty awesome so far. I have a lot of tips for you guys next week on it. So let's talk about the bigger company that you're working with right now. It's called Angie's List. And Angie's List is nationwide. How many years has it been around?
Almost 20, actually. A lot of people don't know that, but literally started as a list that they would hand deliver to your door of the best plumbers in your area.
How many of us have subscribed to Angie's List, or at least looked at it in the past? Okay, that's 30% of the room. Cool. So walk us through what you are doing for them, or what you've done so far.
Yeah, so Angie's List came to Originate with a big opportunity. And what's interesting about this whole marketplace space is how we look at it, of, you know, Uber for everything. I want to push a button and something should show up, or a service should happen, or 5 years a drone will fly out of the air and drop whatever you want in your lap. Looking at that through the lens of home services, if something breaks in my house or I need a handyman or something, the idea that I can just push a button and have no friction experience, no arguing, no disputing over the price, just somebody come fix my toilet and leave. And that's the experience that we partnered together with Angie's List to create, and we called it SnapFix. And it's a mobile app. Take a picture of what you want fixed, and using the 20 years of experience and reviews and relationships Angie's List has with all these home service providers, they can find the perfect, highest rated, best person for you, and make sure you're getting a fair price and good value, and make sure that they're kind of the concierge if there's any disputes or anything, they just handle it. So removing the friction from home maintenance.
Now that sounds cool at first, but what went wrong?
So, as any good idea, there's a million startups have popped up, and some of them have been fairly successful, along the lines of TaskRabbit and Home Beacon and some of those. So there's this pressure, startups can come out of nowhere very, very quickly, and these days get a lot of funding. So, the challenge with any big company is you have an infrastructure that's doing many things, and the way you've always done it, you usually cannot move that quickly. So that was the starting point and why we partnered. We actually have to move as fast as a startup. So, what went wrong was, we made some assumptions early on. It's like, all right, we've got a big company with 2 million members and TV commercials all over the place. people will just do what we tell them to do from the brand, and the service providers will just do what we tell them to do. So we basically built this user experience with just a bunch of assumptions that people will love it because it comes from Angie, and we got the user experience wrong. And we built it very quickly. We built it in 10 weeks, got it to market, and we were surprised to hear people say, this user experience doesn't work for us. So true agile fashion, within 2 weeks we tested it, got feedback, really took focus on listening to the end users, listening to the service providers, and getting the user experience right. So now fast forward 3 months into it, we just launched it nationally a week ago, and it's a delightful user experience. So we kind of set this new bar of just start with delightful user experience first, and that's something that's easy to forget when you have a big brand behind it that you just assume people already love you.
So what does delightful mean? What can we learn from that?
Yeah, we look at it a few different ways. We use the word featureable a lot when we're thinking of a product. Envision in the future where your product's going to be. You want, Apple talking about it on stage. You want it to be on the front of the iTunes store. You want the Wall Street Journal talking about what an amazing experience that is. And if you just live in that world while you're creating and think of it in terms of reality, is this experience here really featureable? Is it really delightful? Do I really love this myself? It's easy to put on blinders and just say, no, this is going to be good. But living in reality, showing it to people, a lot of people are always afraid to test it on real people is critical. So
you have a lot of vendors that fix things. Talk to us about you assumed that a lot of the vendors were hungry for more jobs. What happened there?
Yeah, the other interesting thing we learned is, it only takes a little bit of friction introduced into a product to really sway a whole group of people away from you. So, we made an assumption that, gardeners and electricians and home cleaners will do anything to get a job and are hungry for more jobs. What we didn't think about is, maybe they're not the most tech savvy. There's a lot of people out there that actually run their business on a piece of paper. And the one thing we did is I told everybody at Originate, here's a free credit. Go use this with your service providers. And I had one day in my backyard, I was trying to get a gardener to do something, and he's handing me his phone of I can't log in. Well, he's trying to log into the iTunes store and didn't understand there's a difference between logging into that and to the app. And his 7-year-old kid was there saying, no, Dad, you don't understand this. Let me do it for you. So thinking through how do you even remove the friction from these tools, new technologies in the world that I think is going to be a big challenge for this marketplace direction where technology is the connector between people and the goods that they want.
So you bought some national ads talking about the app. How did that go?
Yeah, so that was another interesting thing we learned is Angie's list is primarily traditional ad spend, national big advertisements with Angie herself, talking about the home market and things that they can do for you. So we did a big national rollout, and my team was, we really never launched a product with a big national TV commercial before. Usually we use more kind of traditional social media channels to get the word out. So my team was bracing for the day the commercials aired, we're gonna have 2 million users downloading this app, and it's gonna take down the servers, and we're bracing for impact. And Angie's telling us, we'll be happy if we get 5,000 downloads. You don't know what you're talking about. You've never launched an app this way. And sure enough, she was right. Millions of viewers seeing a TV commercial did not convert to millions of people downloading the app. And as
surprising, right?
Yeah. I mean, as we've dug in, there's so many steps between. I saw an app on TV. You got to remember the name of that app. It's called SnapFix. Now I need to go to my phone and search for it, and download it, and install it. Now I need to sign up. There's so many drop-off steps there. So, in hindsight, we probably should have had some short code or picture you take of a QR code or something just to eliminate those steps. So so we've kind of recalibrated, and we're trying other interesting ways and getting some really good take-up now.
Is there anything else that's gone wrong with Angie's List that we can learn from?
I have to pretend Angie is sitting next to me right here before I answer that question too deeply. Yeah, I think there's this challenge of becoming agile as an organization that has grown up over 20 years, and there's been, the one thing I'll say that's really impressive about Angie's List is they've not been afraid to once question the way they've always done it, and they have people that are risk takers in there, and that's kind of the culture you need to be able to make this agile transformation, to think in terms of, they were doing monthly updates to features. We came in and said, we're going to update 3 times a day. We're going to push production 3 times a day. And that's like orders of magnitude different than how people think. So, it's been a challenge to make that adjustment, but it's been impressive to watch it happen.
Awesome. Walk us through one of your biggest blunders you've made, either as a programmer or as a business person.
I really like to focus on what I've screwed up here. I've told this story a few times, but I'll talk about it here. After I sold my last company, and that was a great experience. We were 15 developers, and we built one of the first mobile apps that did data backup and data sync, and we launched it and had millions of users paying us 99 cents a month, and we didn't even have a sales guy. And I can look back at that and say, whoa, got way too lucky there, but we had an incredible exit. I came out of that with this mentality of like, okay, I can do anything now. Like, I must be the greatest entrepreneur in the world. I'm gonna start a business in every industry. So I went and I invested in a movie, and I started a clothing line. I was like, all right, I'm gonna create a lifestyle around my businesses. And I started another technology company.
I like where this is going.
So, Thrive was the name of the clothing line, and I called the girl I think I dated 2 years before and said, all right, you just graduated fashion school, I'm going to throw a bunch of money at this, come design some clothes. And the worst possible thing that could have happened. We were really successful the first season. We sold these, and I was like, yes, I am the best. Season 2, we sold nothing. Season 3, we had a tiny order. Season 4, season 5, season 6, like, I just didn't let go. Like, I didn't want to accept that. Like, maybe I wasn't meant to be in the fashion industry. I actually don't know anything about fashion. And just keep throwing money at it. That's not the answer either. So, long story short, 7 years later, we finally got the business to profitable, and we're doing private label for Nordstrom. $4 million into it. Haven't gotten that money back. We sold the company last year for 0, but I'm glad to be done with it. So that was probably more than the money. It was just like a huge amount of time and focus, and like I can't even imagine what I could have done if I would have put that effort on more technology-related things, which I'm actually passionate and decent at. So, yeah, not knowing when to give up, and letting ego get in the way, it's humbling.
That's awesome. Any questions we have before we close this session? Any questions about anybody opening an app in the next 6 months or so? All right. Yes, in the back, Serena.
All right. So, in launching apps, what do you think how much money do you think people really need to launch an app?
So let me repeat that for the viewers out there. How much money do people really need to launch an app? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to add to that, how much time do they need?
Yeah, it's like with 1 billion apps in the marketplace, how do you make your app stand out?
So we build $5,000 apps and $15 million apps. So, an app can be really, really big if it's a whole, we don't think in terms of apps as much as we think in terms of, full solutions. What's the back end? But, I'll take the average scenario where you have some web-based something that you want to create a digital experience for, a mobile experience for. Most people will spend anywhere from 3 to 6 months developing a first version of that, anywhere from $50,000 to $400,000 developing that. This idea of MVP, minimal viable product, we've started rejecting that idea a bit. Minimal and viable don't really go together. So this idea of don't launch it until you are really proud of it is don't need to build the whole world. You don't need the $15 million version, but don't just throw garbage out there because you get very small window of opportunity from your new users or your existing users that you don't really get a second chance anymore. So short answer to your question, you should spend enough time testing it. Use usertesting.com and these new tools where you can go out and A/B testings or get 50, 100 people in the world to actually use it, give you feedback. Get it to the point where you actually believe people are going to like it and then launch it. So yeah, don't do it in less than 3 months.
So my follow-up question is, now once you've launched it, how much money do you think people need to promote it?
So now that you've built it and launched it, how much money do you need to promote it to get users?
Yeah, depends how many users you want, but we will spend anywhere from $0 if you already have channels to get your users to $7, $8 per user acquisition. Most people probably spend a couple dollars per user acquisition. Looking at a lot of different techniques out there, which could talk for an hour around of incentivizing downloads. That's really where your best bang for the buck is going to be, is to probably not just incentivize any downloads, but targeted incentive downloads that you think will lead to engaged users. You should probably spend half of what you spent building the app on actually getting users into the app, and build your viral loops in there so you don't have to keep spending that.
Awesome. Hey, let's give a round of applause for Rob Meadows.